Welcome to AnglingBuzz presented by Fleet Farm. I'm Troy Lindner. We got a great show for you today. We're talking about summertime walleye strategies. This is probably the most popular game fish among anglers here in the North Country. Now there's an ongoing debate among walleye fishermen, and that is this run and gun style versus finesse style. Which is better? Many anglers preferred the slow live bait tactic to catch walleye. And the other end of the spectrum, you have this run and gun style, almost like something you would see in bass fishing. So which is better? Well, the truth is it kind of depends on the time and the place. And today's show, we're joined by Jeff Evans. He's going to share some insight into this. He's a northern Wisconsin guide. He catches not only walleye, but smallmouth bass, crappie, muskie, and more. So Jeff, how's the season going?
We've got a really good bite going on right now in northern Wisconsin. It's early June and everything has kind of transitioned into post-spawn mode. Crappies have been done spawning for a while, so they're moving out off of those first weed edges. Smallmouth bass are just getting off their beds, so they're still going to be shallow. And walleyes have been in a post-spawn mode, feeding mode for quite a while now, so you're going to find those fish transitioning out to main lake structures and even deep weed edges. It's one of my favorite times of year to catch fish. I mean, you get good numbers of fish usually right now, as well as good size.
Now, Jeff, when it comes to walleye fishing, would you consider yourself a power fisherman or a finesse fisherman?
That's a great question, and the answer is actually both. Walleyes can be really moody. There's certain days where they can be really picky and really negative, and there's other days when they're super aggressive and it seems like they'll bite anything. So you need to try to match your methods and your presentations to the day and the circumstances that are happening. As a guide, it's really important for me to get my customers on fish. I mean, that's the reason why we're out there. So it's hard to get away from the tried and true finesse presentations and methods that we've used forever, whether that's a jig and a minnow, or dragging a live bait rig like a Lindy rig, or even using a slip bobber, which is one of my favorite things to do, whether I'm suspending a minnow, a leech, or even a night crawler. There's hardly a day that goes by that I don't have a slip bobber out there, just because it's so consistent and it works so well. But there are days when power fishing is really beneficial, whether you're just searching for fish or whether the fish are just really in an aggressive and active mood. And on those days, you've got a lot of different options as well. Using a swim bait can be one of those presentations, or a rattle bait like a rip and wrap, or a jig and wrap off the bottom. And of course, there's always crankbaits that you can cast them or troll them.
Now, Jeff, what are some examples you could offer as far as retrieves go for power fishing walleye?
Swim baits are a great option when power fishing walleyes because they're so versatile. You can fish them in so many different ways. This is a 4.5-inch boot tail or paddle tail, and I like to use heavier heads like a 1/4 ounce or a 1/2 ounce with a long shank on it. And if those walleyes are relating to weeds or buried in the weeds, you can just throw that swim bait right into them, rip it through the weeds, let it make bottom contact and rip it again. And a lot of times those fish will just be there when you go to make that rip. If the walleyes are relating off of the weed edge, just cast it out, make a steady retrieve in. A lot of times I'll just kill the retrieve part way back, let that bait sink a little bit, and then I'll start up again. And sometimes that'll trigger a bite when you start that retrieve back up. If walleyes are relating to offshore structures closer to bottom, or offshore points or main lake points, you're going to want to throw that bait out, let it hit bottom, and then twitch it or rip it all the way back to the boat.
That's a beauty there.
Crankbaits cover a lot of circumstances when you're power fishing for walleyes. There's times when you want to use a shad bait like that to bang into rocky structures, or there's other times when you want to use a suspending crankbait to do a twitch and pause retrieve back to the boat that'll trigger strikes. And of course, there's always trolling, right? What's become really popular in the past several years is using planer boards and using either deep divers, long lining behind those boards, or snap weights to get shallow diving baits down to the depths that you need.
What a way to end a great day of fishing.
Rattle baits like this rip and wrap are a great power fishing option for walleyes when they're relating to sand flats, gravel flats, main lake structures like reefs or even points. And what you want to do is you want to bomb that cast as far out as you can, just so you can make contact with as many fish as possible. You want to let it go to the bottom, and then kind of one of two things that I'll do. I'll either make long, hard rips all the way back to the boat. You know, every time it hits bottom, make a long, hard rip, or I'll do kind of steady twitches every time it hits bottom all the way back to the boat. And every day can be a little bit different, so you want to vary those approaches with speed and technique until the fish tell you what they want or what's going to trigger strikes.
Well, thanks, Jeff. That's a lot of great information. And we'll let you get back to work.
Work? I fish for a living. Thanks, Troy. I'll get back on the water.
Well, thanks, Jeff, for your time. And stay with us after the short commercial break. We got more Angling Buzz.
Looking for the perfect fishing vacation? Leech Lake, Minnesota. There's over 112,000 acres of water to explore with fantastic walleye, bass, pike, panfish, and trophy muskies. The fishing opportunities are endless. Leech Lake has it all with over 30 resorts, lodges, campgrounds, and hotels line its pristine shores. Plan your trip. It's Minnesota's original up-north vacation destination.
The Deep V Bucktail Jig from Northland Tackle. It's dressed for success. This proven successful keel design gets you down faster, straighter, and the Bucktail, with its natural flowing presentation, delivers unmatched performance. Add to that a unique range of colors, sizes, and realistic 3D eyes. You get a bait that exudes match the hatch realism. The Deep V Bucktail Jig from Northland Tackle. We are Walleye.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
In 2021, Minnesota watercraft inspectors found that 95% of boaters were doing their best to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species. In short, drain plugs were removed, no standing water was inside the boat, and no zebra mussels or plants were found on the boat or trailer. Thanks for following these simple habit-forming rules. Clean aquatic plants and animals from boats, trailers, and equipment. Drain all water from motors and live wells. Remove all boat plugs and dispose of unused bait in the trash.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Up next is our Timely Topics feature. We're joining Joe Nelson out on the water, and he's going to show us where to find summer walleye.
When we're talking summertime walleyes, it's a challenge because so much of the lake can hold fish. We're really talking about a time of the year when fish have the ultimate in flexibility. They can be a range of depths, they can be eating a range of different prey, and they can literally be choosing their places to feed, their places to rest and loaf, and transitions and travel ways. So what you're left with in the summertime is trying to figure out, where do I fish? So I'm gonna highlight a couple key spots for summer fishes that you should really focus on the next time you're hitting the lake for walleyes. And number one is all about flats, weedy flats. And as I'm looking and doing some map study here, areas like this one are prime because you've got big, broad, wide spaces between the contours and areas. And you just know those areas are going to be just full of different kinds of weed species. Now, the key important parts of so many of these big weedy flats are some of the points, inside turns like you see, and some of the broad sloping areas. So it's up to you to go ahead, maybe pull through here with a little bit of side imaging, find pockets in these weeds, areas where you can more easily rig, let's say with a bullet nose sinker, some live bait, pull that, you know, with a swivel and a snell setup. Or the other thing you can do is if the weeds are really thick and, you know, maybe some of these broad areas that range here, one of the things you can do is you could pull spinners over the tops of those weed clumps, and really fish that are buried inside, especially with a good wind buffeting that cabbage, fish will come up and grab those spinners out of there. So I'm always thinking weedy flats for walleyes in the summertime. They just end up throughout this whole part of the summer having so much biological activity, so much different bait, so much different activity. Walleyes are in there feasting as well. When you think summer for another spot, you're always thinking offshore. You're thinking about fish that have been maybe on the shoreline areas in the springtime, eventually move their way out to sunken islands, sunken humps, these areas where it looks like a dot or a bullseye on the map. And I'll tell you, the more complex that structure, it's a double-edged sword. The harder it is to fish, but the more fish it can hold. So a lot of times, if you're new to a lake, you can pick a fairly simple one, and what you'll find out as you boat around it, as you look at your side imaging, as you look at your down imaging and your standard 2D sonar, there's a lot more than meets the eye to what can even be a simple spot. So on this spot specifically, I know on the tip here of this little hump, we've got a strong rock control. When I say that, I mean there's just a small pile of boulders right here on the end that tend to hold fish, especially if you get that weird northeast wind. The other areas I'm looking for is slight, subtle inside turns, areas with steep breaks like that. And I'm also looking on the northwest side. Why the north or the west side? I'm looking for where the prevailing winds are often going to hit this thing. So, like I said, even some simple spots can fish complex, and it's up to you in the summertime to go ahead, do some driving around on these things, note what you're seeing on your graph, and really fish it to its potential. So maybe the third key spot to look for in the summer, something that maybe you wouldn't think of, but you can kind of turn your mind back to the springtime of the year, is some main lake points. And as you know, in the spring, a lot of these areas are getting washed by wind, and fish are up in the shallows. Maybe you're pitching jig and minnow up there, but in the summertime, especially the points that have kind of multi-layers or multi-depth levels to them can be just key spots, because often these fish just make slight moves. And when you've got shelves here and maybe like another tertiary shelf here and like that 24 to 30 feet of water, these are all just great feeding spots. These are flat spots on the edges, shelves on the edges of these points where they can trap bait up against, and fish can just be up there teeing off against wandering schools of bait, especially if there's a good wind buffeting them up against that point. So these multifaceted, multi-layer points are really great because they're super complex. There's a lot of spots within the spots, and then you work your way around, and places like this often have like saddles, like you can see here, between another piece of structure. So you really start to sense this as a progressional movement seasonally, where fish come off of this, work their way and feed from the depths up to these shelves, maybe travel back and forth in the saddle, and also work up and down these other sunken island areas. So combine those strategies, think of those spots, think of shallow weedy flats, think of small sunken humps or islands, and think about these multi-depth layer points as your three key strategies for getting on some summer walleyes.
Well, probably the most important part about catching walleye is finding them location, location, location. Well, stay with us. After this commercial break, we got our Buzz Bite reports as Angling Buzz continues.
Developed from the latest technology, Blackfish technical apparel outperforms, so anglers have gear that they can trust in, no matter the conditions.
Fishing is all about connecting with nature. Then grabbing nature by the lip and holding it up for a picture.
Hey everyone, Troy Peterson, Mr. Bluegill, and we're out on Lake Winnebago today for this week's Buzz Bite Report, chasing the black crappie. These fish have really started to move up into the channels. We're getting them on a variety of different baits. Preferably though, casting small little tungsten jigs with some small plastics. And what you're looking for is places that the water warms up quick in the morning, which is going to be a lot of wooden piers, gravel shorelines, dark areas that water is going to warm up quicker. And then as the day progresses, those fish, are going to probably stick around those posts, but a lot of times they'll go out over the deeper sections of the channels, and there, we're just dragging slip bobbers with minnows or plastics, and just kind of keep working the baits. Keep moving around till you find them, and typically when you find, a fish or two, there's going to be a couple more around it. Get out, enjoy it. These fish will be going here for the next week or so, and it's a lot of fun, and they make great table fare. I'm Troy Peterson, Mr. Bluegill. We'll catch you guys on the water.
Thanks, Troy. Now let's head over to Lake Vermilion with Billy Rosner.
Oh yeah. There is a nice Vermilion walleye right here. Pitching shorelines with jigs and plastics today. I just throwing like a 1/8 quarter-ounce moon-eye jig tipped with a 4-inch split tail big bite plastic. Been having really good luck catching some beauty, nice keepers just like this one here. Just throwing shorelines, just moving, covering a lot of water. It's almost like smallmouth bass fishing. You're picking them here and there. That's a lot of fun. Also catching fish on Lindy rigs in transition areas at 12 to 18 feet, where rock meets sand or sand meets mud, those type of areas. Just a 60-inch leader, number 6. Wide gap VMC hooked, tip with a leech. Also starting to pick some fish up on leeches also, so don't forget the leeches. Things are really progressing up here fast. Water's starting to warm up. Crappies are coming in. Bass are coming in. Things are really setting up to be another great year up here in Vermilion, so have a great week and be safe out there.
Thanks, Billy. Now let's head south to Leech Lake with Toby Kavalivog.
Been up on Leech Lake. The fishing slowed down in a sense from not so much the bite, but for the presentation. Went from jigging, snap jigging shiners, to dragging jigs through the sandgrass. We went from fast presentation with crawlers to dragging leeches nice and slow with the Lindy rig. That was the presentation, but now we have consistent weather, that bite's gonna pick back up. Look for just snap jigging shiners, Lindy's and crawlers, Lindy's and leeches, spinners and crawlers, that's gonna start. And of course we have the muskie opener. I checked out some of the deeper basins. There's tulipies out there, the ciscos are where they're supposed to be. Those muskies are gonna follow after they finish the spawn. Crappies, panfish, they're up in their beds. People are targeting those up in the weeds and the pencil reeds. And smallmouth bass are also in and around beds. People are catching those on those rocky points. Largemouth bass, they will be in the weeds as well. That's your report for Leech Lake. I'm Toby Kavalivog.
Thanks, Toby. Now let's head east to the Red River with Brad Durick.
I was just about to say we're in the water, we're catching catfish here on the Red River, and then storms of the weekend brought a bunch of rain, and we're right back where we've been for the past month. So the update from the Red right now is that there is no update. We're still flooding. Looks to be at least another 10 days before boat ramps open up. Even though a couple of them look usable, they are technically closed by the Sheriff's Department. We're 66-degree water temperature right now, which is absolutely perfect for a pre-spawn bite. But due to safety concerns, due to other concerns of flooding, everything's still shut down here on the Red River, and we will be waiting until mid to late June until we get in to chase our catfish.
Thanks, Brad. That wraps up this week's Buzz Bite Reports. Now don't go anywhere. After a short break, we still have cool products and technique of the week as Angling Buzz continues.
Like many of you, I've had back issues.
From the pounding waves of Lake Erie.
To over 30 years of competitive angling.
And a lifetime on the water, but not anymore.
Smooth Moves changed the game.
It's a must-have for me and my clients.
It's like my boat is floating on air.
They're easy to install.
Fully adjustable.
It makes a day on the water a whole lot more comfortable.
Smooth your ride with Smooth Moves.
Simple, fast, and easy. This automatic launching and loading system on boat-to-trailer.com makes unloading and loading your boat a breeze on both roller or bunk trailer configurations. This system is a simple one-bolt install. No more hanging over the boat, no more cranking in the boat, and no more wet feet. Speed your boat ramp time by visiting boat-to-trailer.com.
Lake Vermilion. Explore. Relax. Reconnect.
Minnesota's most beautiful lake.
Get hooked on our trophy walleye,
That's a beauty.
bass,
My favorite fish.
musky fish,
That's a beauty there.
Things to do? You'll never get bored.
Rooms with a view? We got 'em.
Lake Vermilion. 4 seasons of fun.
Help your engine run better and last longer with Seafoam Motor Treatment. Seafoam is safe and easy to use in all types of cars and trucks. Just pour it in your fuel tank. When added to fuel, Seafoam works to clean and lubricate your entire fuel system. Helps engines start easier and run smoother. Reduces long-term engine wear and helps prevent costly engine problems. Make the proven choice. Seafoam Motor Treatment. Available at Fleet Farm.
And now it's time for our cool products brought to you by Fleet Farm. Well, today we're talking about walleye, and it's tough to beat fresh caught walleye as dinner fare. And the Back 40 from Fleet Farm, this is their different breading and seasoning mixes. There's a lot of different options. Here's just a few of them that are available, but it's tough to beat fresh caught walleye here in the North Country. And next, a new bait to hit the scene. This is the new VMC Moontail Jig. I've used this a lot for walleye, also for bass, but primarily snap jigging these for walleye is absolutely incredible. You don't need live bait, you don't need soft plastics. You can just fish it right out of the package. A nice narrow design, a lot of action on the tail. This is a great jig from VMC, the Moontail Jig. And next from Berkley, the Flicker Minnow Series in exclusive Fleet Farm colors. And they come in 3-packs like this. You can see these are very bright. This would actually work good for trout, smallmouth bass, but especially for walleye. A nice 3-pack here. A lot of great options. Different sizes available from the Flickers 7. This is a 9 all the way up to an 11. And next, a couple different jig options from Northland Tackle, the Fireball Jig Series. And both of these jigs, actually, the long shank and the short shank jig, they both have stinger attachments on the bottom there. You can put a little treble hook stinger on there. These are great for vertical jigging. You can also cast these out. And for live bait, you know, they're primarily made for live bait, but you can also fish soft plastics on there. A couple great options from Northland Tackle and the Fireball Jig Series. And next from Rapala, the Down Deep Husky Jerk. And there's different sizes here for different trolling depths. Like this bigger one, the size 14, you can troll down to like 20 feet. Nice bright color here. I've actually used these to catch walleye before, just flatline trolling them. It works really great. The Down Deep Husky Jerk Series, these are suspending baits from Rapala. And next from Northland, the Light Bite Bobber. A couple different options here, a slip style as well as a clip-on bobber. Nice high visibility colors on here so you can see and indicate strikes very easily. And you can see the little weights below the bobber. This is great for casting so you can get some distance out away from you. You know, if you're in the boat or even shore fishing, these are perfect. The Light Bite Bobber from Northland Tackle. And next, the Slim Minnow from Big Bite Baits. This is great for jigs to vertical jig and snap jig walleye. The narrow design, these will dart down, nice bright colors for walleye. 4-inch design, so it's a perfect size. This is from Big Bite Baits, the Slim Minnow. And next from Seafoam, Seafoam Marine Pro. This reduces long-term engine wear. This can be used in 2- and 4-stroke inboard and outboard engines, and also stabilizes your fuel for up to 2 years. Seafoam Marine Pro. And next, a telescoping planer board trolling rod from Lakes and Rivers. And if you're new to trolling, this is one that you want to check out. It's a great value. You can see the rod telescopes out. It has a nice, medium action to this. This is an 8-foot rod. It's a great value if you're new to trolling from Lakes and Rivers. And lastly, from Clam, the Fortis 190 walleye net. And as you can see, This is the hoop design on this is perfect for walleye. The handle extends way out. You have an engraved ruler on there. You have a quick glide lock technology to lock the handle in place. It has a nice rubber-coated polyester net to protect the fish. Nice deep hoop design if you're holding over the side of the boat. And the handle, as you can see, extends out really far. This is perfect for walleye, the Clam Fortis 190. And you can shop online anytime at fleetfarm.com and also visit your local Fleet Farm store. And right now it's time for our technique of the week.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Look at that guy there. Beautiful fish. Look at that guy there. And we had that little hook. Look where we had it perched, directly in the tip of its snout. Not by much. I think no question about it. When it comes to catching walleyes, and you have to catch them, I'm big on live bait. You know, when you're talking live bait presentation, this is probably one of the most stealthful presentations you could do. One thing that's really sort of intriguing, right now we're on Leech Lake, central Minnesota, one of the premier walleye lakes in Minnesota. But the thing is the water in here is really clear. I mean, we can actually see the bottom in probably 8 or 10 foot of water. We're catching these walleyes right now. They're sitting in about 18. But the thing is, what's really been key, we've even noticed, you know, because normally if you get a little bit of wind and chop, you could actually set up and we could spot lock and flip them out right by the side of the boat and catch walleyes. Right now, that is not happening. And it's sort of intriguing that what we did was we figured out once we see the fish, we drop the corks, pull away from them, and just let them sit there and stew in a fixed position by that little pot of fish we see. But like over the whole top of this hump, this is a pretty large hump system in here. And we came across it, and there's probably, what is there, Jared, 15, 20 different individual pockets of fish sitting on isolated boulder mounds. And what we've been doing a lot is we drive around, we isolate where the fish are, and we actually just take this slip floats, drive over the fish, drop them, and then Jared is slowly pulling away from the fish. Like right there, you can see that's a walleye about 23 feet to the left of the side of the boat, directly to the left.
There we go, Jimmy.
Here, you got another one?
Got another one.
Yes, float fishing can be absolutely deadly for catching a lot of walleye, especially this time of year. On next week's show, we're going to be talking about fine-tuning electronics to catch more fish. And we also want to remind you to help stop the spread of aquatic invasive species. Anytime you're leaving any body of water, clean, drain, dry. And be sure to enter our sweepstakes online at fleetfarm.com. You can also enter your local Fleet Farm store to win an awesome weekend up on Lake Vermilion. That place is full of big walleye, big smallmouth bass, gigantic muskie. You get a great stay at one of the resorts up there as well as a guided fishing trip. And also visit us online at AnglingBuzz.com and also our social medias on Facebook and Instagram, simply AnglingBuzz. We go more in depth on our Buzz Bite reports. We got tips, tactics, videos, articles to catch fish of all species here in the upper Midwest. Well, thank you for joining us this week. I'm Troy Lindner, and we'll see you next time.